Did you know that the Last of Us HBO show borrows the game's music? In fact, the same composer that created the music score for the games recycled his own music and created a new and pretty much similar score for the HBO series. Welcome back to another video, fellas, and today I will give you 10 plus 1 fun facts for The Last of Us. Plus 1 because one of them is going to be false, and I challenge you to see if you can identify which one is the lie. So are you ready? Let's go! Number 1. The fungus is indeed kinda real. As you find out in the show's opening minutes, the premise underlying the zombie outbreak in The Last of Us is a fungus capable of hijacking insects' motor functions that evolves to infect humans. Thankfully, this is a mostly unrealistic concept, as is the notion that people would turn into malicious zombies if in fact the fungus could infect us. But the actual fungus, cordyceps, is quite real, and it can in fact hijack the mind of ants.
So if that happens, we lose.
Number 2. Seasons of the show are tied to individual games. Not counting remastered versions of original titles, there are essentially 2 Last of Us video games, along with one significant DLC pack. Every indication so far is that the show will be structured to match these games. That is to say, Season 1 will cover the game Last of Us, as well as potentially story elements from the DLC titled The Last of Us Left Behind. And the second season will then concern the events of The Last of Us Part 2. What remains unknown is whether that will be the end, as there are persistent rumors of a Part 3 being in development, which might also mean an additional season of TV as well. Number 3. Video game actors are reprising the roles in the show. Here's a cool The Last of Us fact that video game fans should be pleased about, and also another indication that HBO is staying true to the game franchise. The show features voice actors from the video games that are reprising their roles, in some cases, such as in the character of Marlene, played by Merle Danridge, and these actors have visible on-screen roles. In other cases, such as those of the clicker zombies, the actors are simply applying their voices again. Number 4. The stars are Game of Thrones veterans. Now, there are plenty of recognizable faces in The Last of Us, and this fact is a pretty obvious one. The show's co-leads, Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, are particularly familiar to HBO viewers. Both of them are recognizable Game of Thrones characters. Pascal played Prince Oberyn Martell, and Ramsey played Lyanna Mormont. Both were fan favorites and died pretty awful deaths. Number 5. The cast were told not to play the games. Now here's an interesting fact about The Last of Us cast that may surprise you. It's been said that even as they prepared for this show, Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey were instructed not to play the video games from the series. Now there aren't too many details about this request, but the assumption is that the showrunners did not want the co-leads to be too preoccupied with imitating existing material, which makes sense if you think about it. Pedro Pascal, however, did in fact try to play the game because he wanted to play out notes that are seen in the game. However, he found the game difficult, and also he was concerned about falling into an imitation pattern, and so he left the game after all. Number 6. The creepy fungus tendrils are a break from the game lore. Some of the most unsettling images and moments from the early episodes of The Last of Us involve tendrils of fungus feeling their way out of infected humans in search of more prey. But those who haven't played the video games might be interested to know that these horrifying fungal feelers are actually a break from the source material. In the games, the infection spread occurs via spores, and characters protect themselves with gas masks. The change was made so that the actors wouldn't have to be in those masks all the time, as well as because spores would spread the infection too easily. Number 7. The idea of connected fungus zombies is different from the game. Another difference between the show and the game, and a fairly major one, is that the show has revealed that the zombies are connected in vast fungal networks. Now, we don't necessarily know that this is not the case in the games, but it's certainly not portrayed in the same way. And given that the show has already depicted contact with fungus setting off a sort of remote zombie summons, it seems that this change is going to play a big part in the action to come. Number 8. Frank and Bill are just like the games. The third episode of the series is simply a beautiful piece of storytelling where we get to see Bill and Frank, how they met, the evolution of their relationship, and how they eventually met their end. Now in the games, even though we don't see their whole relationship, we can tell that the ending and death of the characters is exactly the same to the one we saw in the series. Number 9. The opening scientific discussion is not from the game. The show opens with a sort of talk show on which two scientists debate great risks to humanity. This is when specifically a scientist explains the potential risk of an evolved fungus infecting humans. In fact, this scene is original and was not taken from the games. And it's also a great example of the hard work of a successful adaptation, a clever bit of drama and context that makes the world pulled from the video games more feasible and unique to the audience. In simple words, this is a masterclass in adapting an existing series. Number 10. The outfit change. During the end of the third episode of the show, Joel and Ellie get a wardrobe change after showering at Bill and Frank's. Joel wears a green plaid shirt, while Ellie puts on a red one with a palm tree on the front over a long sleeve shirt. Now these outfits are not just random clothes. These are in fact the outfits that the characters wear for the majority of the first game. Number 11. The possible reason why Joel was not infected early on. Another detail that seems important in the early episodes is the Atkins diet. This is not an Easter egg from the games, but rather a point based on what appears at first to be just a silly line by Joel.
But I'm on Atkins.
It turns out that the Atkins diet reference is quite important. In the first episode, he turns down food on the grounds that he is on Atkins diet. The Atkins diet essentially forbids almost all kind of carbohydrates, such as rice, pasta, flour, bread, fruits, potatoes, and candy. Seemingly, this was just a cheeky reference that helped date the show in the early 2000s when this diet was really popular. However, we come to learn that the fungal infection is spreading in part through crops and flour, and so with flour and grain intake being discouraged on Atkins' diet, it appears that this little joke is also a hint as to why Joel isn't infected early on. And now small details like this are what make the show so incredible. And that's all everyone, thank you for watching. Did you manage to spot the false fact? Every correct answer in the comments will get a heart. I strongly suggest all of you, whether you play the games or not, to go and see the HBO series, as so far it has been spectacular. Before you go, make sure to smash like and subscribe. Until the next one, have an amazing time and I'll see you all later. For those of you that stayed till the end, number 8 is a false fact. Bill and Frank have a different ending in the games.